the potential of other trains, I assume that this doesn't lock us into only using Siemens trains in the future. Not that Siemens trains aren't any good. I mean, we've had great success with them, but that was a discussion I know we had recently when we had that discussion about the purchase of the actual train vehicles.
No, you're absolutely correct. Other manufacturers, if they meet our vehicle spec, can run on the system.
Thank you.
One of the issues of compatibility is more to do with the other components associated with this work itself, and extra spare parts and that sort of thing, because we want to make sure that there's, and that's actually one of the great advantages here as well is at Siemens, because we've got other elements of our system. There'll be great familiarity with our maintenance away staff with what the final product is.
I do have one question. I think it's a pretty big one, actually. I want to make sure I understand the resolution versus the staff report. What I'm reading in the resolution for the staff report is the resolution authorizes TriMet to execute a contract with a base amount of $47,734,815, but the resolution says $500,000. I think the amount of the contingency is consistent, the $6 million contingency. Am I missing something in the resolution?
The $500,000 is the threshold by which the board needs to take action. So that's all that's referring to is that this
okay.
$500,000.
All right. So the
contract is the contract that's read as whole with staff reporting and resolution.
Gotcha. So the contract we're awarded, with action today would execute a contract for $47,734,815 with the contingency of $6 million and change, right? Okay, I just want to make sure we got that amount. That's a significant contract and a significant amount. Okay?
So then, even with the contingency amount, I mean, the $53 million is the top end?
We hope so. Yeah, we can't say exactly what we may encounter during construction, but that's our intent today.
Okay. I can see I'm glad I asked that question. Okay, with that, is the board ready to offer a motion to approve Resolution 12-09-79?
I move approval of Resolution 12-09-79.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, with that, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve Resolution 12-09-79, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Neil. All right, moving on. Resolution 12-09-80, authorizing a series of contracts for on-call engineering services.
Yes, one of our, Mr. Board members will remember, one of our standard, if you will, operating procedures related to engineering contracts is to establish a series of on-call contracts. This deals with on-call contracts for systems engineering, which is really the electrons, again, primarily that support the MAX system. And you can tell that there are a series of disciplines, that are involved in these contracts, like rail vehicles, air collection of power and distribution signals, and communications overall. Those are the disciplines that constitute our systems work for light rail construction. And actually not just construction, sometimes they're rehabilitation or other difficult problems that we encounter during the operations. So these contracts are procured using what we call the Brooks Act, which is that it's a qualifications-based selection, and that's required by federal regulations. And then what we do is we establish a fixed amount of $200,000 per contract. And then as work is identified and the funding source for that work is identified, we then go to contractors that are awarded these contracts and ask for specific responses to the specific work program. And the selection is often due to both price and availability of staff to actually conduct the work. This has proven to be, I think, a very important capability for us over a period of time. Allowed us to really shorten the procurement process for some of the, I think, ongoing tasks associated with both band and operations work associated with, in this case, the systems engineering components of our overall system. So again, a whole series of contracts that would be recommended here. I'll go through each of them based on the RFP process, based on qualification-based selection, and then these contractors would be available to us on a short-term basis with really a task order process associated with actually contracting for the work itself. So with that, we recommend approval of the resolution, and certainly be happy to answer any questions.
Board, you have questions or comments?
Just one comment. I see that if needed, there could be another increase of 200,000 annually. Is that correct?
Go ahead, Dan, Jeff.
Yes, the way the approval works, we set up initial contract amounts for 200,000 with annual renewals up to 5 years. So each year, if there is work performed by the firm, they can get an increase in the next year. Otherwise, we simply just extend the term without adding more money.
See no other questions?
So Dan, this 5 contractors has a reasonable approach and specific areas of expertise. That's great. If we played this out for 5 years, potentially each of those could have the ability to engage in activity, services, and billing up to about $3 million each. If you take 200,000 the first year, 400, 600, 800, $1 million after 5. So we're really obligating ourselves to the potential of $30 million.
Yeah, correct. It's actually probably higher because some of the firms have more than one contract. So that's simply your board authority. We still, every time we issue a task, we have to have budget to do the task, and the budget source is identified. Barring some major change, I don't know that we're actually going to have enough budgets, or frankly, enough need to support the ongoing operations where we would need to tap these contracts for that level. But that's simply the way we do it, because it's not unusual that one of them would require 200,000 in a year, just probably not all of them in every year.
So, and the reason I brought this up was simply to say we just approved a $48 to $53 million actual contract. This could be the potential over time of 60% of that, roughly. And of course, you have procedures to authorize that work in advance, which is great. We'll probably, if any of us are here in 5 years, meaning us, it's up to the governor. Presumably in 5 years, there would be a similar proposal, because these are ongoing types of activities associated with the operation of our systems. This is an ongoing activity and procedure, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? I guess I have a question. I assume when you execute a change order or extended contract, we'd see it in our monthly or whenever it shows up in the contracts that are awarded that we get every month, right?
Yes, when we award the contract or add to the annual amounts.
Right.
I don't think our delegated authority reports the actual tasks against them.
Yeah, I don't think I'm interested in that. I think we're just interested in the overall dollar amount per contractor, so or consultant in this case. So I think we have a tool to monitor that. I guess we just need to monitor that. Maybe that's something you give us an update on an annual basis or 6-month basis when we're talking about the budget.
And also in the annual budget, you would see budget being established for capital work or just ongoing maintenance work that partly might use these contracts to deliver it.
And so with that, we have the 2 mechanisms. We actually have this portion of it where we approve the authority to be able to enter into the contracts, but then we also have the budget authority to review it and say, okay, this is within budget, and we approve the budget, but we also have to approve anything over $150,000 to allow you to actually act and create those contracts.
That's right.
So we have 2 mechanisms to have some oversight. I agree with what Bruce was saying, that, have it as an item so that we can draw attention to it on a, bi-yearly or 6 months or yearly basis, so it comes to the forefront and we can review it at that point in time.
Okay, seeing no more questions, is there a motion to approve Resolution 12-09-80, authorizing a series of contracts for on-call engineering services?
So moved.
Have a motion? Second. Have a second? Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, the motion is approved. Thank you very much. Moving on to the next resolution, Resolution 12-09-81, authorizing a modification to the contract with Kennedy/Jenks Consulting Incorporated for engineering services for relocation of Portland Water Bureau facilities for the Portland-Milwaukee Light Rail project. Mr. General Manager or Dan?
Well, Mr. Board President, members of the board, again, I think this is a modification. You approved this contract previously that was awarded based on competitive bid for RFP that allowed this contractor to complete design work. Now we are in the midst of beginning to construct those improvements. We need the design service during construction, which is to respond to questions, clarifications in the design, changes in the design based on actual conditions in the ground. And so this is a request to add that scope to this contract at this point in time. I'm sure Dan can answer additional questions if you have any.
Looking at the board, are there any questions or comments on this one? I don't see any. Congratulations on that. So is there a motion then to approve Resolution 12-09-81? So moved.
Second.
Motion and second here. Any further discussion on the motion? We'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion approving Resolution 12-09-81 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. We have 4 resolutions, the next item is 4 resolutions, 12-09-82, 12-09-83, 12-09-84, and 12-09-85, authorizing TriMet to acquire by purchase or by exercise of the power of eminent domain certain real property necessary for the construction of the Portland-Milwaukee Light Rail project. Mr. General Manager, kick it off. And I would point out that there is one gentleman who signed up, wants to testify. I'm not sure on which resolution, but we'll ask him to come up here. I guess it's on all 4 of them, it says here, so go ahead.
Mr. Board President, members of the board, this is a standard condemnation resolution, as you said, for 4 different properties. In each case, the appraisals have been completed and offers have been made to the property owner, in some cases many months ago. And we're in the midst of negotiations with those property owners. And again, our hope and our plan is to make sure that we end up with a properly negotiated settlement that doesn't require the actual condemnation procedures, and we have a very good track record associated with that. These 4 properties, and the reason that they're in front of you right now is that really 2 threshold issues. One is that they're over $500,000 of value. The other is that at this time that they become critical to the construction timeline. So we need the condemnation action to make sure that we can assure possession to turn it over to the contractor on a timely basis. And so we're at that point that both of those thresholds have been met, and we really do ask for your approval associated with these condemnation actions. And with that, I'd be asked if Dan has any additional questions, or perhaps we can respond to your questions.
So,
quickly, I do know TriMet's track record is good on this. Are there particular issues with these 4, or it's just the thresholds you're talking about? There's one which is 85. I'm just curious, they were represented by council. I don't even know why they would be, except
That is actually typical.
Okay.
And most of the acquisitions you go through, the property owner does have council representation.
Okay. Thank you.
any questions this time? Maybe I'll ask you to step away, Dan, and I'll invite David Michaud, is it, up to talk. He's Tomra. Please come on up. Palmer, okay, thank you. You can tell us about Palmer too, right? Sure. All right, thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Thank you. I didn't come to speak about the 4 resolutions, but what I did, well, first of all, my name is David Michaud, and I'm the Vice President of Operations for Tomra, Oregon, and we're located at 4322 Northwest Yon Ave in Portland. So I asked if it would be possible to speak to you today to tell you about our relocation experience as it relates to the Portland-Milwaukee Light Rail Transit Project. At the start of the relocation, I have to tell you that I was very skeptical and concerned that the process would be difficult at best, as dealing with a typical government agency or authority can be trying. However, I'm pleased to say that this was not the case. Starting with our initial meetings with Kathy Knoll of Universal Field Services, to our meetings with Jillian Detweiler of TriMet, and continuing all the way through to working with MOVE facilitators like Jeff Mason of Integrated Facility Services. Every person involved came into the project with a genuine spirit of cooperation, as well as concern for the impact that this move would have on our business. I'm also pleased to say that without exception, everyone involved expressed a desire and took appropriate action to make this a very positive experience for me personally, for our employees, and for our company. All too often today, we hear about just the negative things that go on, you know, in the news or with projects like this. And I think that's unfortunate. So I thought it was important to come to you and let you know that these people put in a lot of hard work, and those involved to make our relocation a success. I thought it was important to let you know that, you know, that you have good people out there, and that they're working hard to produce good, positive results. You'll excuse me, I'm a little nervous. I'm not used to showing in front of big groups like this. But so, in closing, I just wanted to publicly thank all of those involved in our relocation for a job well done. And I'd also like to extend an open invitation to all of you, members of the board, to visit our facility and to see for yourself the results of the hard work that you people have put in. Thank you.
I appreciate that. So tell us a little bit about Tomra.
Okay, so Tomra, you're all probably familiar with what we do, and you probably just don't know our name.
Okay.
So what we do is, in Portland here, we actually build what are called reverse vending machines. So when you go to the supermarket, to Fred Meyer's or Safeway, and you return your containers into those machines, that's what we build. Yeah. So it was a really, you know, it was a good working with TriMet on this. Both companies have a similar philosophy of, you know, environmental activism, making things less carbon footprint, all those kind of green things, you know, that everybody talks about. But you know, we are 2 examples, Tomra and TriMet, of people that are actually involved in that.
Thank you. It's nice to hear.
And you moved to Yon?
We did,
Yeah.
right. We were located on Sub Street in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And the way I understand the project, there's an elevation of the system that goes there, and some support for that was actually going right through our building. That building is no longer there.
Yeah, question.
Well, this is more of a statement, David. I certainly want to thank you for coming and speaking. They say on the average, when we have a bad experience, we tell 10 people. When we have an experience that greatly exceeds our expectations, we tell an average of 3. And so, you know, I want to commend the TriMet staff and everybody that worked with you on this, because ultimately they must have exceeded your expectations.
Oh, yes.
You need to take the time out of your day to come and express your thanks. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and I'm sure the rest of the board does also, and coming and commending the team that worked on this and telling us about your experience. It is good to hear some good things.
Okay, well, it's my pleasure. Like I said, you know, managing people, I've always tried to make it, you know, you should tell people when they do something wrong, but you also should tell them when they do something right.
We appreciate that.
That's just as important. Okay?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
So it wasn't directly related to these 4 resolutions, so I apologize, that's what I thought we had. But Is there any other questions or thoughts on the resolution, or are you folks ready to offer a motion to approve by one resolution, by one motion, all four resolutions, 12-09, 82, 83, 84, and 85?
So moved.
I hear a motion to approve.
A second, but I have a question.
Very good. So I hear, we have a motion and a second. So further discussion, Director Clark?
Neil, is there any, I'm trying to do this in a confidential manner.
Good luck on that.
Did any scope of our initial anticipated property requirements for any of these properties change from our original estimate to where we are anticipating going forward? Does that make any sense?
It does.
It does. And I'll let Dan respond. There was one change.
Yes, there was one. One of the properties, it is the Cantel Industry property, which is on 17th Avenue, south of Holgate. It's not too far from our headquarters building. We wound up needing to take additional property from what the PE assumption was, which required us then to take the building as well. So the projected cost of that one went up.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Are you ready to vote on this? All right. So I have a motion to approve all four resolutions. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Abstentions? I hear none, so motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. And the last matter of business today is Resolution 12-09-86, which is the Board of Directors acting in its capacity as the TriMet Contract Review Board, approving class special procurement for employee benefits, contracts, and insurance. And you're going to make that very simple, so we understand exactly what that means.
Right. I was just going to say, Mr. Board President, members of the board, this is something you probably don't see every day.
Yes.
But actually, this is existing practice, and I will tell you that this is coming to you as a bit of a cleanup item of something that we really need to do, which is to assure board approval of this. Typically, these are for insurance contracts, medical benefit contracts, where a broker is involved, and there's a lot of back and forth related to finding the best price and best deal. So things like deductibles will change, things like the levels of coverage will change, and a number of other parameters that really are the brokers working with the insurance provider to really come up with the best price. So this is actually best practice for governments, is to actually not do these kinds of contracts with low bid. And that's really what we're asking, is to allow us to continue to do this with the brokerage services, with the give and take and back and forth that the broker services provide with the provider of primarily insurance in this regard. And again, I can give you some examples just in the very recent past. You might recall that one of our budget ideas was to move to some self-insurance on medical insurance. As it turned out, as we worked through the details of the quotes from the providers, we actually got a much more competitive quote from our insurance providers that really negated the advantage of moving to a self-insurance program this year. Now, whether or not that will be true next year or the year after will be another question. But this process of negotiation and give and take has really then allowed us to make sure that we secure these services at the lowest possible price. I know Randy and others could offer additional examples or additional clarification, but I hope that's enough to start the conversation, and certainly be willing to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? I see one down here.
So I'm in support of this resolution in practice and appreciate the update on this particular case. And from time to time, it might be good that under general manager comments, maybe semi-annually, to continue to offer that oversight or that observation. And it's much appreciated, and I think we have to be nimble in terms of how we manage employee benefit costs and other matters such as these, insurance and so forth. So
We'd be happy to do that. And I know that it's a matter that the board is following very closely. Appreciate that.
comments, questions down here? Okay, well, if the board feels good, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 12-0986.
So moved.
I have a motion. Second. A second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion approving resolution 12-0986 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion is approved unanimously. Great, well, that concludes our business meeting. So with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. And now we will open the public forum. And the public forum, as it says in our agenda, begins at the conclusion of the business meeting. It's not part of our meeting. People wishing to testify during the public meeting are encouraged to submit their full testimony in writing and summarize their comments in the meeting. Public comment should be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. I think we have a little time to be a little flexible, but I'm going to, again, start off with the 3 minutes. And right now, I have a sea of only 3 people who are signed up to testify. So with that, I'm going to start. The first person I see is Mr. Bruce Hanson. Is he here? I don't see him. I thought I saw him earlier. Don't see him. Okay, so we'll move on to the second person with his Keith Schultz with Opal. Come on up.